NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, thanks for being with us. I have to begin by asking you really, of course, after the election victory of Donald Trump, what's the mood like in NATO headquarters? I can't imagine the Baltic ambassadors are high-fiving each other at the moment.
So we are all looking forward to work with President-elect Donald Trump, and I am looking forward to hosting him and welcoming him to the NATO summit next year here in Brussels. And I'm absolutely confident that President-elect Donald Trump will be committed to and will maintain the American strong commitment to NATO and to European security.
And do your Baltic members share that confidence? I'm surprised you're so confident given the remarks that he's made over the past few months about NATO, about the alliance that you lead. He's called it obsolete. That's new territory for all.
Well, President-elect Donald Trump also said that he was a big fan of NATO, and his main message was on defense spending, burden sharing between Europe and the United States. And there I absolutely agree with him. We need a more balanced burden sharing between the United States and Europe. It's not viable in the long run that the United States pays 70% of total defense spending of NATO. And therefore my main message, my top priority since I took over Secretary General in 2014 has been to make sure that European allies increase their defense spending.
But forgive me for jumping in there. I mean, that's nothing new. I agree with that. But Mr. Trump called into question whether he would come to the aid of the Baltic states if they were invaded by Russia, for example. That is new for a US president-elect to talk like that. I was at the embassy the morning after the election. The US ambassador to NATO got up and said that the transatlantic bond would remain strong, whatever the result. That's never happened before. We're in new territory.
Well, as I said, I am absolutely certain that the new US President-elect Donald Trump, will be strongly committed to the transatlantic bond, the security guarantees of NATO, because a strong NATO is not only in the interests of Europe, but is also in the interest of the United States. 2 world wars and the Cold War have taught us that stability in Europe is also important for the United States. And we have to remember that the only time NATO has invoked Article 5, our collective defense clause, was after an attack on the United States, 9/11 2001, and hundreds of thousands of European soldiers have served over the years in Afghanistan in a military operation that was a direct response to an attack on the United States. So it is in the interest of the United States also to have a strong NATO.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to draw upon is, where do you get this confidence from? Everybody in Brussels or in Washington has no idea what Mr. Trump's foreign policy is going to look like, and yet you seem quite relaxed about this, that Mr. Trump can call into question the NATO alliance and you think everything's going to be fine and rosy once he takes office.
I'm confident for several reasons, partly because this is really in the interest of the United States, and we have seen that over 7 decades that European allies are the closest friends of the United States. We are the best friends of America. Second, Europe has stood up and supported America and the United States in many different operations, coalitions in Afghanistan, but also all European NATO allies are contributing to the fight against ISIL, supporting the coalition fighting ISIL. NATO provides support, and the 2 world wars also taught us that stability in Europe is important for the United States. President-elect Donald Trump also expressed during the election campaign that he's a big fan of NATO. He's all for it, as he said. And then he focused on defense spending, and that has been the message from President Obama, from President-elect Trump, but it's also the message from me. Europeans have to spend more, and they are actually now increasing defense spending, and I welcome that.
Have you spoken to President-elect Trump yet? Do you plan to?
I expect to speak to him very soon. My team is in contact with his transition team, and I'm looking forward to talk to him, and then I will welcome him to Brussels to the NATO summit here, which will take place next year. And of course I look forward to work with President-elect Donald Trump on the wide range of issues which are facing NATO. We have to strengthen collective defense, but we have also to project stability, fight terrorism, and stabilize our neighborhood as we do in Afghanistan or in the support of the coalition fighting ISIL in Iraq and Syria.
Okay, well, I believe you're probably one of the only people in Brussels who's so confident about Mr. Trump, but we'll have to move on to talk about Turkey. There have been some military officers who have claimed asylum in Germany. Again, that's something unprecedented. Turkey is your second biggest military inside the alliance. What's going on there? What's your reaction to that?
Turkey has officers in the NATO command structure. They are appointed by the Turkish authorities, the Turkish government. It's a national responsibility to appoint officers to the command structure, and we have seen some changeovers, and I expect Turkey to fill its different posts at the NATO command structure, and they have assured me that they will do so. Then we have seen some examples of some officers requesting asylum.
Does that worry you?
That is something which has to be addressed and assessed by the different...
But you lead the alliance. I mean, it must be very worrying to have your second biggest military with officers seeking asylum in another NATO country.
So my main focus is to make sure that we have officers filling the different posts in the NATO command structure. When it comes to the question of asylum, that is something that the different nations where the officers are seeking asylum has to address, assess and make decisions on. I visited Turkey just a few weeks ago. I'm going back to Turkey on Sunday because Turkey is a key ally. Just its strategic geographic location, bordering Russia and Ukraine in the Black Sea, and Iraq, Syria, with ISIL, the turmoil in the south, makes Turkey a key ally. And also related to the migrant and refugee crisis, we have to remember that Turkey is a kind of buffer. And for the rest of Europe, it is of great importance that Turkey plays the key role it plays in the alliance, addressing the threats, the challenges, but also the migrant and refugee crisis.
So given its strategic value, do we just ignore everything that's been happening with the judiciary, the civil servants who've been dismissed or suspended, journalists in jail, 170 media outlets that have been shut down since the coup? Your alliance says you're promoting democratic values. Yet again, you have a major NATO member that seems to be violating those democratic values. It calls into question the credibility of the alliance, doesn't it?
I visited Turkey, Ankara in September, and I saw the damage on the National Assembly caused by the F-16s during the failed coup. And that made a big impression on me. And I met representatives of many different parties, and they all condemned this coup attempt, which was a serious attack on democratic institutions in Turkey. The Turkish authorities assured me that they will respect the rule of law. They also told me that they work together with the Council of Europe to make sure that the way they prosecute those people who are responsible is done in accordance with the rule of law.
So where's the red line? They can just keep on sacking judges, jailing journalists. They don't seem to be listening, that's my point.
They have the right to prosecute those people that are behind the failed coup. NATO is based on some core values, also the rule of law, democracy, and I expect, of course, all allies to respect those values.
So their membership is never going to be called into question? There's no red line, there's no...
I think we have to understand that Turkey is really a key ally for NATO for so many different reasons, but bordering Syria, Iraq, being close to Russia in the north, playing a key role, hosting 3 million refugees, playing a key role in the management, the handling of the migrant and refugee crisis. Turkey is a key ally, and it's important that it continues to be so, and therefore I welcome that Turkey is a very committed NATO ally.
Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.